In this video, I'm going to share with you the first of 3 external relationship influences that impacts our family relationships, our marriages, every single day from the moment that we wake up to the time we go to sleep. I'm also going to share with you how you can counter that influence through a simple family meal. My name is Mark Jala, and I'm the founder of Cook, Talk, Love. This video is a segment from a much larger and more comprehensive 2-part video series you can get from the website cooktalklove.com as well as from our Facebook page. I hope you enjoyed this video and it serves you in a way that brings you peaceful, loving, and passionate family relationships. Enjoy. The number 1 is breakdown of the family unit. In 1969, there was the passage of NoFault Divorce in California. In just a few short years thereafter, virtually every state throughout the country adopted no-fault divorce. The 1970s and 1980s, there was a divorce boom. A lot of the families at the time, they wanted a divorce, and they didn't have to come up with reasons for it. It became very, very easy. And after that, there became a very large industry, a divorce industry that occurred after that. But the key and the impact of this impact today is that the children from the divorce boom are now adults. And the results of the divorce boom, adults today accept divorce and they expect it. Studies are showing that it's not just that yes, it's a common occurrence, it happens out there, and it's not going to happen to me. They actually turn it around and expect it in their lives. That, to me, is absolutely mind-boggling, but the key point is they are expecting divorce in their own lives. 15% of divorces today is due to infidelity or abuse. Just about anyone out there would admit that infidelity or abuse is definite grounds for a divorce. However, 85% is due to finances, communication, changes in priorities, or changes in expectation. There's other studies even showing that today online gaming is having a major impact on divorces. Some studies indicate that as much as 15% of divorces are due to online gaming. But what we also find is that there are certain patterns that are not being stopped. In first marriages, the divorce rate is 41%. Now, we've often heard that divorces is 50%. That is probably more of an average of everything. But first-time divorces is 41%. But the second divorces, so those who divorce once, remarry, they have a 60% rate of divorces. And those who divorce a second time and marry a third time, there's a 73% rate of divorce. So there are patterns that are not being learned. There's patterns that are not being addressed. And one of the key is children from divorced parents have a significantly higher divorce rates. Let me repeat that again, because this is key, and this is part of how this whole divorce boom came about. Is from the studies, children from divorced parents have a significantly higher divorce rates, and this is where we have to somewhere start putting an end. We have to start reversing some of these trends. So how do we counter a breakup of family unity? Well, the first is when someone expects divorce, that is a thought pattern. Now, in my book, Cook, Talk, Love, I address some of my studies in personal development. And personal development is all about how to become a better person in all ways. And I'm an avid reader and student of that. One of the things that they talk about is about thoughts. And when one expects divorce, that is a thought pattern. And thoughts lead to actions. Actions lead to habits. Habits lead to success or failure. So when they talk about success and they're talking about how to be successful, they start with, what are your thoughts? You don't think about negative things. You don't think about failure. You don't think about how bad of a day it is in an effort to try to be successful. So their thoughts have to be about the positive things, constructive things. And so those positive and those constructive thoughts about looking for possibilities, where there are opportunities, how to solve problems, those kinds of thoughts lead to positive actions. Positive actions lead to positive habits, an ongoing, repeatable set of actions that then leads to success. But it also works with the opposite way. A negative thought pattern leads to negative actions, leads to negative habits, thus leading to failure. One of the keys that we have to do if we're going to turn this around is that we have to accept 100% responsibility for our actions. There's a lot of studies and a lot of again, in personal development, where they talk about, we have a tendency, and we've all probably done it at some point, some more than others, but we have a tendency to blame other things or other people for our certain challenges. Oh, it's the government. It's those Republicans. It's those Democrats. It's those it's the work. It's my neighbor. It's the guy I work with. He took my promotion away. Or there's always blaming at someone else, rather than looking inward and looking at what the skills that I have, or the skills we have, to advance ourselves or to achieve the things that we want to achieve. And that all begins with accepting 100% responsibility for our own actions. A book called Project Everlasting, Matthew Boggs wrote a book about, and here he was in his early 20s, set off on a nationwide journey throughout the country, looking to talk with what he calls these marriage masters, folks who have been married 40, 50, 60 plus years. And he came up with, after talking to hundreds of these couples, asking them, what was your secret? What had led you to having a long marriage? And one of the keys was working through all of their problems. Problems in a relationship, problems in a marriage are inevitable. They are going to happen. And what we find is those who have those successful long-term marriages are those who have the mindset, the thoughts, the actions, the habits of working through the problems. They take responsibility for their actions. And one of the end results of that is that builds character. And that kind of character of working through the problems and understanding that, listen, yeah, we have financial problems, or we're not talking, or we're not communicating, or yeah, I've got an online gaming problem, or whatever it might be. Working through the problems helps us as individuals and develops our character. And that character, it gives a lot to the marriage, to the relationship. And one of the other keys associated with this that they discovered, the marriage masters had respect for one another. Now, here's the first challenge that I propose to you. When you're around other people, listen to some of the conversations. When you're at work, in the break room, around the water cooler, when folks talk about their spouse or their children, what's the tone of that conversation? And if you have friends and coworkers like I do, you're going to hear a lot of negative, a lot of, my husband is such a jerk, you would not believe what he did this weekend, or my wife is such a pill, listen to this. And it goes on. And there's a lot, and I know some of it is meant in good humor and just to be having conversations, but at the same time, that is not respectful. And when you have respect outward, externally to other people, that respect also comes inward. It comes back to the spouse, to the children. And so having respect is one of the key things that we have to do to build our relationships at home. And this is really where it starts, is in the home. So how do we counter with a family meal? Well, first thing is we have to plan the discussions. Family meal for most part, for most people, is it just happens. They might plan the dinner. They might plan what they're going to be having. And they might be planning, what the leftovers for another time or whatever. But how often do you really plan the discussions? Now, think back to when you were a teenager. Think back to when you were much younger and you wanted to go on a field trip. You wanted to go to spend the night with a friend. You wanted to do something special. How much thought did you give that? How are you going to phrase the question to the parents? See, back then we planned certain conversations. We planned what we were going to say. And along the way we dropped that. We've stopped doing that. So one of the first things that we have to do is, with a family meal, we need to start planning the discussions again. We need to start thinking about what we're going to be saying. And the best place to start is with respect. So when you build somebody up, you build up their self-esteem. You start with respect. You congratulate them on something that they've done, or you thank them for doing something, for even if it's a routine item, thank them for doing that, and you're going to find they're going to continue doing that. So starting with respect, even if it's not, even if it doesn't come back to you, be the first one. Start it. Get it out there. Start with respect. Be respectful of other people in your own family. Next, focus on responsibility. Talk about what it's like to be responsible, or how to be responsible. Does your partner expect divorce? If you're already married, this is something that you're going to be. The natural tendency is to be cautious about asking this one, because if you find out that they do expect it, what does that say about the marriage? So you have to be, it's something that you need to know, though, because then you can counter it. And when you find out if their parents were divorced, if there was a history of divorce in their family, some of the friends, if you all, I'm sure you all, but have friends that are divorced, easy to talk about. Hey, did you hear, Mary and John are getting divorced? What happened over there? What do you think about that? So you could start talking about it and finding out more about the attitudes and the opinions of your partner. And if you're just dating, if you're just starting something, a relationship, it's a great question to be asking. Do they have courage to work through problems? Now, this is something that, this is actually an easy one, because if they play sports, ask them about how they did. And if they didn't win, or if they didn't do well, what do they blame it on? Do they blame it on their own skills? Did they not do as well themselves? Or do they blame it on their partner, the team, other people? If there was a promotion at work and they didn't get the promotion, do they blame their own skills, or do they mention the things that they have to do better? Do they take responsibility for not getting it? And or do they blame someone else? Do they blame, well, it was that Bob, Bob just, he sucked up to the boss and that's why he got it. So do they, find out about the courage to work through? Ask them, it's a good question, is, what are some challenges you've had in your life that, that were hard, but you struggled through it, but you ultimately succeeded? What kinds of things like that? What have you developed and worked on? And if you find that there's a pattern of multiple things that they've done, that's an excellent sign. And it's that kind of thing we're looking to build up in our children, in our spouse, in our partners.